Kia ora, welcome back to the channel. We're back with the Q&A series. The first question is, should I join the NZSAS or the Australian SAS? To be honest, go with whichever one you want to join. It's not rocket science. If you're in New Zealand, it probably makes more sense to apply for the New Zealand one. Vice versa, if you're in Australia, then apply for that one. If you're a New Zealander looking to move to Australia, then apply for the Australian one while you're there. The next question is, would you recommend I apply for the British SAS? 100% I would recommend you apply for the British SAS if that's what you want to do. Again, it sort of ties in with the first question. You need to choose the path that's right for you. So that's the first two questions. The third one, how difficult was it for you to change over and join the Australian SAS? I'll be honest, for me, changing over from the New Zealand Defence Force to the Australian Defence Force, because that's what I had to do first, the Australian Defence Force, the ADF, much respect to them, they made it really easy for me to do. Now, I still had some work to do. I had to go over, I had to do the basic entry testing, like theory test or whatever it was that it was called at the time. And then I had to provide some letters of reference to submit to the Australian Defence Force. And aside from that, that was pretty much it for me. It was about, from the time I applied, maybe it took 6-7 months all up by the time the process was finalised. So it wasn't difficult at all for me to change over. In terms of joining the Australian SAS, well, there was only one door at the time. You got to go through that door, which is the selection process and the cycle. So how difficult was it? Yeah, it was difficult. It was hard in that perspective, because when you're talking about joining the Australian SAS, that's a whole different ball game. Changing over though from the New Zealand Defence Force to the Australian one was pretty easy, and then doing the SAS selection course in Australia, that was difficult. It was challenging, as it's supposed to be. Fourth question in here, would you recommend taking leave before selection to taper and reset, or train right up until the end? Another really great question. I remember having the conversation with this individual over Teams. I would, if you have the opportunity and you have the option to take leave prior to selection, I would recommend taking leave. That's actually something that I didn't do prior to the New Zealand selection anyway, and it's not something that I did prior to the Australian selection. It's just, it wasn't on my radar. So that was a really cool question when I had the conversation with this individual. Yes, I would. If I had leave and if I had have thought of it, I would definitely recommend taking leave leading up to help with your taper, to rest and reset, to eat up, to get some, training, maintenance in, depending on how close you are to your selection, and do that instead of training right up until your selection start date. So that's that one. And the fifth question, the last one that we'll do for this one for today as part of the series, is, would you say the NZSAS and Australian SAS are similar in terms of culture and expectations? It's a good question. I think expectations are pretty standard in terms of what the units are potentially looking for in terms of your character, your integrity, your drive, how you turn up at checkpoints, your discipline, all that sort of stuff, the basic field craft things that you should be able to do. I think all of those things are standard for any Special Forces unit. Similar in terms of culture, I think, honestly, no. I think the culture is very different. The NZ culture, very different to the Australian one. The New Zealand culture of the SAS, at least from a selection cycle perspective, I can't speak for what it's like once you're in the New Zealand SAS, because I didn't get officially badged and I never walked into a squadron to start work. So I don't know what the culture's like once you're badged and you're in. But night and day between New Zealand and Australia. In New Zealand, still got a double everywhere, even though you successfully pass selection, which is cool. It's fine. Like, you haven't really done anything spectacular. All you've done is just pass the selection, the first step in many steps to come. And then you've got cycle, which is, you've got all your courses that you need to be able to successfully pass and pass well to earn an opportunity to earn the badge to then get posted to a squadron. During that time, you're doubling everywhere. You're still feet together, standing to attention. You're still calling all the directing staff, all the DS staff, as you should, throughout. Australia, completely different. The culture's different, I found anyway. Once we passed selection and we were onto the cycle, man, we didn't have to double or run anywhere. We still moved with a sense of urgency, don't get me wrong, but you didn't have to double everywhere. We were able to call the instructors, like the sergeants, the NCOs, by their nickname. And so that was a bit of a shock. So the culture there was very different to NZ, but it works. It works for them. So New Zealand's very strict down the line, I found, and I loved both. And you're not in until you're in. And then Australia was, just quite a bit of a culture shock for me because I wasn't expecting that and I wasn't used to it. But both of them were fantastic. Similar in terms of culture and expectations. So definitely not similar in terms of the culture. I think probably similar in terms of the work ethic. Nice and relaxed, chilled. Nothing phases them or stresses the operators out too much. But when it's time to work, it's all hands on deck and you work. If you see that there's something that needs to be done, you get in and you get it done. So I think those cultural aspects and expectations are probably similar in that regard. But anyway, that's those. Going to try to keep these nice and short. So these Q&A sessions are on the back end of the free offer of support for one-to-one having conversations to help those that are preparing for selection or wanting to join the SAS, and or those that might be after a tailored specific training program to help individuals better prepare, taking into consideration your work, lifestyle, routine, family situation, any injuries and things like that you might have. So surprisingly, there hasn't been, and to be honest, sort of probably thankfully, there hasn't been a lot of requests for tailored training programs. It's been more people wanting to connect to ask some genuine questions that they have about the selection process and cycle and what it's like serving in the unit. So there's probably a little under 100 questions right now. Since making the offer, it's only been about a week or so. There's been a heck of a lot of, I suppose, engagement, which I'm grateful for. It's awesome to connect with these people. It stirs up a whole bunch of positive memories for me, excitement, nervousness. I can see it and feel it and hear it through the people that I'm lucky enough to connect with. I won't be dropping any names, not even first names, when I go through these questions, just to give it that extra layer of privacy for the individual. But the questions that I've found and my interactions with these individuals have been awesome. Like just some really surprisingly thoughtful questions, a number of these. So anyway, we'll leave this here and take care. Keep turning up, keep smashing. Whatever struggles, challenges you may be going through, stay in the fight, keep working at it. And until the next video,